Hey guys, how's it going? Move Motion Graphics here, and today in this tutorial we're gonna take a look at how you can create your own retro looking logo animation or text animation in After Effects without any plugins. So this tutorial will be a continuation of last week's tutorial, so if you haven't watched that yet, do check it out in the description below. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Scene creation. So right here, as you guys can see, we already have where we left off last week, so we're just gonna continue with this composition. So right now we're just gonna make a new text layer, and we're just gonna put a simple text on it. You can name it whatever you want. For the font I'll be using today, I'll be using a free font called Monument. I'll be linking it in the description below as well if you guys are interested in checking it out. So we're just gonna adjust the text parameters so that everything's in place, and afterwards we're just gonna center the whole text by using the align window. So what we're going to do now is basically right click on the text and create our shapes layer from the text itself. So what this allows us to do basically is to treat the text like a shape layer, and we are able to apply different effects such as gradient fills, strokes, and repeaters to each individual letters and alphabets we have inside right now. But as you guys can see, if you put a gradient fill below the letter right now, it doesn't work because there's already a fill on each alphabet right now. So in order to fix that, head on over to your shape tool and alternate click on the fill option to make it transparent. So right now I'll create a gradient fill and I'll put it below the letter O so that the whole word retro will have one type of gradient. As for the colors I'll be using today, I'll be posting them in the description below as well, so feel free to grab those hex codes and follow along. So right now we're going to click OK to apply our changes and head on over to the start and end point so that you can adjust the gradient to make it look however you want to. So now that we're done with this gradient, we're going to copy this gradient fill and paste it down on the last alphabet of your logo. Since we want our gradient to appear on a different position now, we'll have to adjust the start and end point again so that it looks appropriate. And right now we're going to add the outer strokes to the whole text layer so that it looks more integrated into the scene. So head on over to your text layer and we're going to add a stroke at the end of the text. And we're going to add another one just right below the one that we just made. So to check if the colors work and everything fits in right now, I have an adjustment layer with a glow on top, so I'm just gonna enable and disable it while I'm checking. And after you're done with ensuring that everything is in place, you just want to duplicate the text layer and head on over to the contents and only leave the outline of the text. So you guys should have this stroke layer right now. And we're going to adjust the stroke width such that it's not too thick. So this layer with the strokes will be the layer that we're going to animate for the text review. So right now at this point, we're almost done with the whole scene creation. We're just gonna make the whole composition or layers 3D so that we are able to animate the camera afterwards. So now that we're done with the scene creation, let's head on over to the animation and start moving the text. So the first step you want to do is to animate the text moving backwards. So we're gonna select the text layer and move the position all the way to the back with 2 different keyframes. And to make sure that our text doesn't appear on the first frame, we're just gonna animate the scale as well. So at the first frame, the scale of this thing should be 0%. So right now I'll select all the keyframes and hit F9 and click on the graph editor icon to go to the graph editor and apply a simple ease. And you should have a very simple text review right now. So what we're gonna do now is search for this effect called echo and apply it to the layer. And at this point, you should be able to get a simple repeated scale animation. And we're gonna head over to the echo operator and set it to composite in the back because we don't want the stacked layers to add onto each other and create a fake glow. And we are going to shift the actual text layer a little bit forward in the timeline so that it will appear later. And with that, we're going to go to the Effects and Presets panel and search for this effect called Linear Wipe. And right now, we're going to animate the transition completion of the linear wipe from 0 to 100%. And to create a fake shine to the text layer, we're just gonna search for this effect called CC Light Sweep. So with the light sweep, we're gonna animate the center of the light sweep and play around with the timing of the keyframes so that our animation will not look awkward or too fast. So a good timing to place your logo review would be around 10 seconds with 2 to 3 seconds of the logo being just there so that your viewer will be able to recognize the logo and understand what's going on. So for the next minute of this tutorial, I'll just be playing around with the timings of the keyframes so that everything will look smooth, and you guys can just play around with how long you want your logo animation to be. Just make sure that it's not too long, if not it will be super boring. And for the final touch of this animation, we're gonna animate the gradient. So the gradient line in the middle between the blue and the pink should move upwards towards the final keyframe. This is just a simple way to add more intricate motion and details to your animation, so it makes the whole animation look more lively and not just too static. But of course, all these are just personal preference, so I am personally a fan of very intricate motions, so I would like to animate every single element of my animation, given adequate time that is. And with this final touch, we are done with our animation, so right now we're just gonna adjust all the different keyframes to make sure that everything is put in place. And we are basically done with the whole tutorial, so if you guys are interested in seeing the final render, just head on over to the last 10 seconds and you should be able to see the final render. If not, here is some uncut footage of me editing keyframes and finalizing the color of the whole scene, which I changed at the last minute because I thought blue and red would fit this better. Since all of our layers have a color scheme that is already set, I went ahead and just added a hue and saturation effect on an adjustment layer so that I could change the whole colors of the whole scene without doing too much manual editing. And with that, we are done with this whole tutorial. So I hope you guys learned something from this tutorial, and if you guys have any suggestions for the next tutorial, just leave it down in the comment section below and I'll get back to you all ASAP. See ya!